If you care about your life, your children's lives, and the lives of billions of others, you need to watch this video. I've been a voracious researcher for well over a decade. I've intensely researched catastrophic climate change, the sixth great extinction event, plastic in our ocean, and overpopulation. More than 11,000 climate scientists have just declared a climate emergency. And why should we care? Because we are facing the collapse of civilization in just decades. Because I have a grandson, a younger brother and sister, nieces, nephews, and great-nieces, and other relatives and friends, just like you do, who I don't want to have to live in a nightmarish world. Great civilizations aren't murdered. Instead, they take their own lives. First, I'll address climate change. A goal to stave off the worst aspects of climate change will require rapid, far-reaching, and unprecedented changes in all aspects of society. For every degree centigrade rise of warming, that's 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit, sea levels could rise by more than 2 meters. On a business-as-usual trajectory, we will raise the Earth's temperature by 4 to 5 degrees centigrade by 2100. A 5 degree centigrade rise in temperature would eventually melt all of the water ice on the planet, raising sea levels a few dozen meters above normal sea levels. People have turned their backs on science and God, and we have the terrible stewards of God's sacred earth. Even in the United States, 40% of waterways, lakes, streams, and creeks are too contaminated to even swim in. Since 1880, 2014, 15, 16, 17, and 18 were the 5 hottest years on records. The odds of that being by chance is 1 in 26 million. Now 2019 became the second hottest year on record, moving 2018 to 6th place. Recently, climate scientists went to some of the world's premier statisticians and asked them to research climate change. They found there is a 99.999% chance that climate change is real, caused by man, and going to get much, much worse. The West Antarctica ice sheet is starting to disintegrate. Permafrost is melting in the Arctic circles at levels not expected until 2090, releasing massive amounts of methane and CO2. Methane is 20 times more potent than CO2 as a greenhouse gas. Greenland's ice sheet is melting 7 times faster than in the 1990s. The Arctic Ocean has lost 95% of its oldest, thickest ice. In a few decades, the Arctic Ocean will be ice-free in the summers due to the loss of the albedo effect. Ice and snow will no longer radiate heat back to space. The newly exposed dark open waters will warm the Arctic much, much more. The melting of permafrost and the dark exposed water in the Arctic are called positive feedback loops, meaning the warming will get worse and worse year after year. Because equatorial regions will warm much faster than the rest of the Earth, these territories will become uninhabitable, leaving billions of people who will try to flee these areas that have become too hot for human survival. This will cause wars. Global emissions must fall by 8% per year over the next decade to stay in line with the goal of limiting warming to 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels. Now let's look at the 6th great extinction event. Many scientists estimate that on our present course, up to 50% of presently existing plant and animal species will be extinct by 2100. 1 million species will be lost by 2050. Habitat loss, global warming, overpopulation, and plastic in our ocean are the main culprits. Extinction rates have gone from 1 to 5 species a decade in pre-industrial times to 1,000 times the old rate because of human activities. Now, 150 to 200 species are becoming extinct every 24 hours. At this time, more than 26,500 of the world's species are threatened to go extinct very, very soon, and that number is expected to skyrocket. Coral reefs are believed to have the highest biodiversity of any ecosystem on the planet. Coral reefs are home to more than 25% of the marine life. Millions of species are dependent on coral reefs for survival. Over 1 billion people rely on coral reefs for fish and jobs like tourism. The world has already lost roughly 50% of its coral reefs. More than 90% of coral reefs will be dead by 2050 unless carbon emissions are greatly reduced. At our present rates of warming, it is projected coral reefs will have lost their ability to survive much past 2050. Now let's look at plastic in our ocean. By 2050, plastic will outweigh all the fish in the sea. Over 1 million marine animals, including mammals, sea turtles, fish, sharks, whales, and seabirds, die each year due to plastic debris in our oceans. There are over 100 million tons of plastic in the ocean around the world. Every year, 8 million metric tons of plastic end up in our ocean. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch, or gyre, is twice the size of Texas. There are 4 other huge gyres filled with plastic. These gyres have moved plastic to all of the ocean's beaches. 90% of seabirds that are now found dead have plastic in their stomachs. Seabirds confuse plastic for food and starve because they can't expel it and can't eat real food because their stomachs are full of plastic. Seabirds feed plastic to their chicks and they die. Seabirds will almost certainly go extinct. The Atlantic salmon I love to eat have plastic in their flesh. Many fish eat plastic. More than 640,000 tons of nets and other commercial fishing gear is lost or discarded in the sea every year. We have turned the ocean into a great plastic soup. Global production of plastic doubles every 11 years. Now let's look at overpopulation. Overpopulation is aggravating global warming, environmental pollution, habitat loss, and the 6th Great Extinction event, and overconsumption of natural resources such as fresh water, arable land, and fossil fuels. As it stands now, we have 7.7 billion people. By 2030, the UN predicts it will be 8.7 billion. By 2050, it will be 9.8 billion. And by 2100, the population will be over 11 billion. With 2030 projected to have 1 billion more people, that's 3 times the population of the United States. Think of how much infrastructure will be required and how much habitat loss there will be. We cannot afford to keep growing the Earth's population. According to the UN, 4 out of 10 people are already affected by water scarcity, mostly due to overpopulation. Some things you can do or should do follows. Make banners and posters and cajole, plead with, or drag all your family members, friends, and co-workers to Earth Day demonstrations on Wednesday, April 22nd. Line the busiest streets and intersections in your cities and town. From 1 to 3 p.m. on September 12th, September 19th, September 26th, and October 3rd, demonstrate again. The next time you go to grocery shopping, buy high quality, easily foldable, reusable grocery bags. Hold more, have comfortable handles for heavy objects, and don't fall over easily in your trunk. If you need doggy poop bags, you can buy biodegradable bags online or in some stores, and they are very inexpensive. Go to GoFundMe Robert Ackerman and donate or make your own national primetime commercials or PSAs. If I don't get enough money to make a national ad, all money I get will be wisely used for environmental activism. Do whatever you can to mitigate these emergencies. Recycle. Join an environmental group and ask them to buy primetime ads or PSAs. Write letters to your editors or op-eds or columns. Share this video with all your friends and ask them to share this with all their friends and on and on. go to @OneLessAckerman and watch my other videos. I still have hope. Get our governments to spend more money on research. We all need to act together to keep the Earth habitable for future generations. Renewables are now the cheapest form of new electricity generation across 2/3 of the world, cheaper than coal and new methane natural gas power. Let's make our governments move rapidly to renewables. We must all help to mitigate these environmental emergencies. All governmental entities must help us now. Email them, write them, visit them. If they won't take action, demonstrate at their buildings or offices until they do.